Welcome back to Just Talking. We have a great show for you today. We have an excellent vocalist, musician, Katie McMahon. Katie, nice to see you today.
Thanks for having me on, Jason.
All right, Katie. Well, let's hear about how did you get started into music?
Wow. So I guess my mom told me I used to give concerts in my high chair. So I can't quite remember that, but I guess I was two. So I always loved singing. And my mom is from Germany, and she was very much instrumental in getting us into music. We used to walk everywhere because my dad had the family car, and we would be very kind of fun trap family singing in three-part German harmony, walking around Dublin where I grew up. So that's my beginning. And then I had a lot of formal training from the Royal Irish Academy of Music in Irish harp, voice, and recorder as well. So while I was doing that, I also attended Trinity College in Dublin and studied drama studies there. And while I was there, I got involved with several choirs, which is kind of my start into getting into the music business, if you like. And several professional choirs, one of which was called Anuna. And that we got involved with the composer from Riverdance, Bill Whelan. And then he got this commission for this thing called Riverdance, which we didn't know what it was going to be like. And he asked me to do the solo, and it was a small 10-minute piece initially that was part, though, of a large sort of singing competition they have in Europe called the Eurovision. And that's like got a 60 million TV audience. So it was a big deal. And then it sort of exploded from there and turned into a show. And I was the lead singer, and it was pretty great.
Well, that's what's amazing that people aren't aware of. So the Riverdance started on this TV show, and they weren't even part of the competition. Is that my understanding?
True. Yeah. So the
Wow.
Eurovision has about 40 different entries from different countries, and it's each country has their competition. I know they're starting something like that at the moment here in the US, actually, different states having song contests, but their original songs always as well. But whichever country won the year previous would host the competition the next year. So Ireland had already won the year before, and that's why we were hosting the competition. And when the judges are voting, which usually takes 15 minutes, the country that hosts can put on some sort of a piece. It can sometimes just be a video of like scenic spots in whatever country. But they decided to do a big production. And the concept was the producer, she had been to see shows like 42nd Street on Broadway, and she wanted that line of Irish dancers, which had never really been done before. So that was her concept, and that with the music made a very exciting performance, which in fact Ireland won again that year. So, but people didn't, and I know the composer who won, he's a good friend of mine, but he really didn't make the news that day. It was Riverdance, which was such a sensation that was all everyone was talking about.
Could you feel it within the audience after the performance? It's a phenomenon. What was your reaction when you heard from the audience that night?
It was quite incredible. Yeah, because I mean, we hadn't been involved in anything that huge before. Like we'd done a lot of TV. We'd had, as a group, we got a lot of interest because we started out as a regular choir and then threw the music away, started dressing and using lighting. And we'd had people like Elvis Costello and U2 come to our shows, which was a big deal. So we were definitely on the up, but we hadn't experienced anything of the magnitude of Riverdance. And that first performance was really exhilarating. Like the audience leapt their feet, and there was a big party afterwards, and everyone was just super excited about it. So it was an amazing experience to be involved.
High in the sky, through the clouds and
And then, so after that, they created the Riverdance, the show. Maybe for those who haven't seen it, what is the Riverdance, the show? How would you explain?
Um, so it's Irish dance in America and Ireland. You know, it's an international scene, if you like. My daughter is just started to do Irish dancing here in Minneapolis, and it got to be very, and it still is though, some odd dressing. It's a bit, you know, pageant kind of looking. They have these giant wigs and these kind of neon dresses, and I guess Riverdance wanted to also kind of modernize that whole look of Irish dancing. Irish dancing, they don't use their hands or arms at all. So Riverdance tried to bring a bit of that into the movement, and, you know, really nice costumes, natural hair, and the music of Bill Whelan is very rousing. Basically traditional Irish music, but kind of ramped up with, you know, orchestral sounds, also a big drum kit in there as well. And we also wanted to tie in themes of how the Irish people have immigrated so much over sort of centuries and landed in different countries. So we brought different elements of music melding with Irish music in. We have there was a Russian section in there, Spanish, in a big American scene where we had African American tappers meeting traditional Irish dancers and having a dance off. So it was, but what was great was it was a huge hit when we hit America with it. We had a lot of people who invested in the show, and that's how we were able to bring it over. But we launched it St. Patrick's Day in, I think, 96 in New York, and that was Radio City Music Hall, super exciting, 7,000 people each night. Yeah, it was, and then of course PBS carried it and showed the video, and that was when I knew we had arrived.
When every hand that you shake is like a warm embrace, could only be one sweet place, home in the heartland.
Well, I'll say I did see I've seen it live, but I also, when I first saw it was on PBS, that production. But again, your part and your soul, just it gives it chills every time you see it. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And maybe that's what I should ask, that the section, or the Nunes section, what could you describe what they were trying to get across? Is it part of a story? Is it just an individual songs, or how did your pieces incorporate with the show?
Right. I think in the initial piece, it was all about a river, and our part was the kind of the sort of calm, ethereal beginning, a very high soprano voice, and then the singers, and it was called Cloud Song. So it was like the beginning of the river, and then the rain, which we have a lot of in Ireland, and then going into a big, you know, tumultuous river that's going into the sea, and that would have been the big finale for the dancers. And then the singing part in the show, we had several different, oh my gosh, numbers in there. One was a song called Heartland that was about returning home, you know, usually from America or Australia on the airplane, and seeing all the green fields and knowing your friends were there. And that was the song I sang in the show. And another song was The American Wake, which everyone knows about, the famous Irish wakes where people sit up with the deceased person and drink a lot, and so good fun funeral. Irish funerals are actually good fun. They're wonderful. We should do them everywhere. But so the concept of an American wake was when people were immigrating to America, and you knew basically you were never going to see them again. So they were essentially dying. So, except it was a little less sad because you knew they were going hopefully to a better life, but there would be a thing called an American wake where everyone would stay up all night and celebrating and drinking and singing and dancing. And so that was one of my songs, which was the duet. So I guess my romantic counterpoint was leaving to go on the boat to America, and we had a duet, a song, and then there was a big dance.
Waves in the wind, they are blown along. Melodies rising from home in the heartland.
How long have you were you with Riverdance, the show?
I was with it from its conception, which was 94. And then it turned into a full-on touring show in 95 and a sort of full-time job then. And so from then until 2000, I was with the show. Yeah. Yeah.
Great show. Yeah, if I could talk a little bit about Ireland too as well. I've never been there. It looks very beautiful and fun time. But when we do hit St. Patrick's Day, do you roll your eyes when it's in America versus Ireland? Do they celebrate it differently, and how do they celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
Well, it's funny. I guess it really warmed up to it here. Initially, I was like, "Oh my God, that's so hokey! Oh no!" And so it was, yeah, it was so completely different in Ireland. But it kind of reminds me of how Halloween has also become actually a cooler celebration from going through America and out into the rest of the world, because Halloween was also invented in Ireland. And it used to be called Samhain, and it was really quite spooky, scary, not so much of a fun night, really. And I love how it's just become this kind of crazy sort of celebration in America. And same thing with St. Patrick's Day. When I grew up in Ireland, the pubs would be closed on St. Patrick's Day because it's a holy day. So it was not a drinking day. People would just go to mass in the morning, and there might be a small parade, very low key. And so then coming to America and with all the mad green gear, and we also didn't really wear green that much. We might wear just a little bunch of shamrocks. So coming here was quite the revelation, and I resisted for a while, but now I full on get into it and dye my hair green, and my kids, we all dress up. And we've got twin cities here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and they kind of vie with each other and compete with each other. St. Paul has got more Irish people, so their parade is bigger, but I know the organizers of both parades, so I generally I'm in both doing music, and it's a great celebration. And I really appreciate the Irish American community, which are so they're so completely strong and so much into their heritage, to the point when I used to meet people and they would say they were Irish, and I'm like, yeah, you're Irish American, but they really feel that way. And that's actually a beautiful thing, because for them they've got another home as well that they can come and visit, and then they're welcomed there. Irish people are known for their hospitality, so that's why a lot of people love to visit, and it really is a marvelous country. I'm very excited to go there this summer. Yeah.
I guess that leads me into my next question, which you probably get all the time. Then what made you come to America or in Minnesota?
Well, yeah, that was interesting in that I started dating a man from Minneapolis, and we've been married for a number of years now. We've got 2 cute kids, and that's really how I stayed. And there was a few people who came off the show and landed in America and stayed because they found love here. So that's why. We
talked about how you got involved in music. We talked about the Riverdance and your participation in that show. So let's talk about after Riverdance. Did you continue on with music? And I believe you play the harp as well. So let's hear about after Riverdance.
Here's my harp is right there.
Hey, there you go.
Yes. So while I was so before I went and joined Riverdance, I'd been a featured soloist on 3 of Anuna's recordings. And then we'd also done some interesting movie soundtracks and different things. So I'd already been a recording artist for a while. And so then when Riverdance happened, I had a record deal, and I have released about 4 different CDs that they're available on cdbaby.com, and also from you can buy them from my website, which is just katiemcmahon.com. So that was really fun, because I had to look for people who are really good Irish musicians here in Minneapolis, and I thought that would be hard. It was incredibly easy, huge amount of talent here. So yeah, so I have, and then also toured with around St. Patrick's Day. I've toured with a group called Secret Garden, who were a Norwegian/Irish group. We went to China for 3 months, and so I've done a lot of interesting work since. Toured around America. Also developed a Celtic Christmas show, which is really fun and very popular. We've been doing that for 20 years, and we did one year even get into Wisconsin, so that was
Hey,
cool.
all right.
We did, yeah, but oftentimes it's so large that it's hard to tour with it. It's too expensive. But I mean, we have upwards of 50 people involved, like a large Irish dance troupe. Sometimes we have guest choirs, and we tend to play it in St. Paul every year. And we're coming back with it on the 16th of December if anyone over there wants to take a trip to St. Paul. It's super fun. So I've been doing that. I have 2 Christmas CDs out, and the other 2 are one for St. Patrick's Day I have also, and I have 2 more earlier ones. That's right. But yeah, so it's been really fun. I also teach and lecture on Irish music, teach the Irish harp and voice. Have also dabbled with rock music, which is really fun, completely different. I'm involved in a Led Zeppelin tribute band and also a David Bowie tribute band, just as a guest singer in that. And that's been really fun to do, a completely different style of, singing. So yeah, it's been a fun time since coming off the road with Riverdance, and lots of different avenues gone down.
Do you ever, I'm sure you get this, but has there ever been talk of having the reunion of the founding members to a Riverdance show?
Yes, in fact, we did that because we had the 25th anniversary was in 2020, just before COVID hit, which was incredibly lucky because we had it in February of that year. And I was able to fly over because we had a direct flight from Minneapolis to Dublin that they were trying to establish, and was actually very cost effective. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to hop over. And so it was great because they were putting a show together to tour. And then they brought all of the original cast members up on stage at the end, and had a big party for us. And it was wonderful to meet everybody again that we hadn't seen. So I wish they would have us perform. That would be even better.
Oh, I mean, it would sell out in 10 minutes. No, I mean, it's just amazing.
And it's fun because we've got several dancers whose children are now in the professional production, which is a really cool story. Yeah.
Wow. Do you still keep in contact with any of the performers from Anuna at all, or from your roots?
Oh yeah, a lot of us were incredibly good friends. I was lucky enough to have my very best friend since I'm 9 years of age was in Anuna as well. So I kind of told her, you should audition for this. This is a really fun group. So yeah, and with, of course, social media, it's been great to actually see how everybody's doing, not only Anuna, but the dancers and where they are all over the world. And it makes getting together when we all land in Dublin much easier.
Yeah.
So we're all
well, we're just closing up the show here, and I'd like to have you repeat your website and where we can listen or purchase any of your music. If you could go ahead and say it.
Absolutely. So it's katiemcmahon.com. It's KATIEMCMAHON.
Well, Katie, thank you so much. This was a pleasure talking with you. You're just a great vocalist, musician, and a performer. And thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me on.